lines.
Yes,
But
indeed.
before we get into it, tell them a little bit about you, David, and the Wonder Technique.
Okay, for those who haven't listened before, the evolution of the Wonder Technique, and I like to say it's the evolution because it has grown over time, started actually originally in 1999. So it is over 20 years old. So it's past its adolescent years now, growing up to be a young adult, the whole program itself. And it has evolved over time because there's ideas that I've refined more. There's ideas that I've, simplified more. And then there's ideas I've added in over the years as I've learned, because a lot of the information I share is not just from personal experience, but also from scientific research. So I've been, for example, one of the series, it's not today, but I think it's next week's series, is why we sleep and how to get better sleep and wake up energized. And the information that's available on sleep was not available 20 years ago. So it's very, very cliche, but the importance of gratitude can be very important when you're going through a stressful time. Myself personally, I think I mentioned it on the last event that we did together. There was a number of things that happened in my life, and when they were happening, I couldn't really focus on gratitude. But then I started to realize I had to focus on gratitude to get through it, because my father had passed away. I found my mother-in-law dying. I was in an accident where I couldn't walk for 6 months. All stuff started just compounding on top of me. And it was really hard for me to think of things positive. But when I changed my frame of reference into gratitude, and really, like for anything, it can really shift your world, because I'm hoping that the world, we're going through a lot of stuff right now. And I believe that when we learn the tools, it will help us in advance for the future. Because assuming the pandemic would end, there'll always be other things that will show up in all of our lives, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in work, no matter what, that we all need to have tools to help us manage stress and to create and nourish the happiness that we have in our lives. So the first thing, which is not really, it's a kind of a global step, is to remind people to be grateful for even the small things. Like for me today, I start the day with noting down 5 things that I'm grateful for. And one of the things I already did is gratitude in advance, was this opportunity that I have to be on the show today, Ted. So I put gratitude in advance. It doesn't have to be, this is a big opportunity. I really appreciate it. Some people will say, well, it has to be something big. Do I have to be? No, it can be anything. The fact that, you have a home to live in, you have food on the table, assuming you do, and I hope you do, even if you're going through a time where you have not so many friends around, you can look for something, even to having fresh air to breathe, to give you a foundation of something to be grateful for.
Agreed.
And there's something magnetic about that. Ted, I think you believe in this idea that when we focus on what we've got, we attract more things into our lives.
How can you not? Otherwise, if you focus on what you don't have, that's what the lack. It's that lack mindset instead of abundance mindset.
Yes.
I had to learn it too. I had to force myself to learn about daily gratitude, even if I woke up and I'm not feeling it. I'm going to find something to be thankful for. So It's very powerful to make that mindset shift.
Yes, yes. And I would also say is just a little thing, which isn't like this particular show we're doing now is going to give everybody listening a taste of a workbook that I wrote in an online course that I developed called 19 Steps to Reduce Stress and Increase Your Health and Happiness. So I'm going to share a number of those things today. People, music would never be music if there was no silence. The space between the notes really gives us the beauty of the music.
Yes, I love that.
So,
I do. I think silence it's so critical, because you're right. Our minds are going a million miles a minute, and then we have all the external things that are going on. And so to really sit, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. They don't know how to do it. It actually is a challenge for a lot of people to just sit in silence. I know people that can't fall asleep unless the TV's on.
Wow.
Like there's no silence in their world. I don't know why they haven't embraced it. Maybe they haven't learned how to embrace it.
Yeah. And sometimes I will say it's not possible to be silent. And when you have to kind of find a way, well, how can I overcome that? For example, sometimes in my home, it's summertime and you've got the windows open and you can hear people outside, and yet I'm looking for silence. So at that moment in time, I will just put on a piece of music where there's no words, so that I can kind of buffer that space. I mean, that sounds so obvious, but I truly believe that the secret is actually in the simplicity of things that we take.
Great.
Now, for those people that are listening and David, well, what is these 19 steps? Well, the first thing I want to share with people, something that helps you overcome stress in your life, is when you focus on something that's actually really important to you. And I did a podcast a couple of days ago, and we really went deep into the topic of finding your purpose. But I want to share with you a concept that some people listening will be familiar with from Napoleon Hill, and he talked about your definite purpose. Each of us, I believe, Ted, has a definite purpose in this world, and it's really unique to ourselves. And once we discover that, and when we focus our energy and time on that, it becomes something that helps us overcome stress, because your focus is on something that is important to you. And this can be whatever you choose it to be. And you don't have to get too much into the detail. Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
it's you're really
totally
focused on something that I enjoy. And you know what? Some people will say, do I have to be doing a business? You know, it can be taking care of your children. It can be whatever it is you choose this to be your priority. And I know in the world that we live in, some people right now may have lost their work. There may be big changes going on. But if you can find something that can be your focus, that can be your purpose at this moment in time, and give that the energy, you're taking yourself away from what is stressing you. You're in the moment of what you want to do.
I love what you just said, David.
Thank you.
A lot of people get purpose and occupation. It's put pressure on. Well, if you're happy in what you do, you don't feel like you're working, you'll never work a day in your life, or all of these things. And I think people equate, sometimes wrongly, purpose with job. Your job can be something that helps sustain what you're doing, but your outside work, your creativity, your charity work, there you can also find purpose. And just because you don't turn it into money and your long-term career does not mean it isn't something that's important or isn't your purpose in life. If you're still making the impact, yes, it would be lovely, I'm sure, if you got to make the impact and make the money, but those two aren't mutually exclusive.
Exactly. And I think sometimes people, they get scared of acting on their purpose, what they really, really want to do, because they say, well, right now, when I start off, like any business, if it's a business they want to start, there's not going to be money automatically coming in unless they have savings in place. Right. So that's really important, that what you would do. And something, Ted, you mentioned, which is very valuable, is the whole idea of taking the time to volunteer. If you have an opportunity right now and you're able to circulate and volunteer your time, maybe it's just by phone, maybe it's making conversations in the neighborhood you're in, something like that, you actually can be making an impact in the world. And simultaneously, when the opportunity is there, you can learn about a career, a profession that you'd like to do by volunteering in that industry. It's something that people don't always think about. And then once again, it's kind of the secret is in the simplicity. It's like, oh yeah, why not? Why not do that? And you find out maybe that's not exactly what I thought it would be like. So maybe I need to redirect.
That's the thing we told, like even when the kids were picking out, my kids were picking out college majors, you got to volunteer a little bit or do an internship. Because what you have maybe believed your whole life that you love to do, I love to work with animals, it's not exactly the same until you're in it. Yes. And once you're in it, you can either, your passion grows or you go, whoa, this was not what I expected at all.
Yes.
That's why the volunteerism and the internships and the getting your hands dirty in the things that you think you love are super important before you take the deep dive full in, my opinion.
You know what? I totally agree. And I've shared a story before that actually a long time ago, one of my girlfriends, she went on, at that time, she wanted to be a medical doctor and she was going to university and everything. And I met her years later again because we were together for a period of time. And then she went off to university and she became a medical doctor, but she hadn't gone out and done the work where they work with the patients. And believe it or not, Ted, when she actually started to do the work that was not just the mental work, she decided she didn't want to be a medical doctor.
Wow.
She didn't like that part of being on demand with the people, the interacting. Her skill set was more in doing research, is what she found out.
Yes.
And if she'd done volunteering in a hospital, maybe, you know, she would have saved herself some time. Maybe not. Maybe, you know, the universe was guiding her in that way. That's the process she had to go through. But we live in a world where we have more and more opportunities to volunteer and spend the time out there. And now, of course, people will really appreciate people taking the time to simply listen to each other.
Agreed.
So that's the first idea, is really looking at the idea about your definite purpose. And so maybe people are thinking, well, David, aren't you going to talk about like mindfulness and stress management? I kind of always take a different approach to things, where I'm encouraging people to look at, well, one way to eliminate stress is by actually replacing it with something else that you really enjoy. Now, when I talk about the idea of finding your purpose, something else you also want to pay attention to, it's a key factor. Are you really interested in doing this? As Ted was mentioning there, is it something that you're really dedicated to? Or are you sort of interested because you want to pick something that you're really committed to, something that you're willing to do? Like, could I invest 10 years of my life? I think I'd like to start a podcast. Are you willing to do it for 10 years? No, I'd like to do it for like 3 or 4 months. Well, then maybe it's not something that you really want to do. You want to find something that you're very interested in. That phrase, are you interested or committed, actually came from a book I read many, many years ago by Dr. Ken Blanchard. I think it was 1986 I read it. And it was called The 1 Minute Manager, the first edition of it. Yes. And the key difference between being interested and committed will mean that you will get up in the morning and do stuff that you're really interested in, that you won't be thinking, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm really excited about this, because you're committed to it. So this is a way of getting rid of stress and increasing the happiness in your life, because you're truly focused on something you enjoy.
I love that. I think it's so important for people to kind of figure that out. Like you said, it's just really critical to sort of think about what you want to do and then follow that step in the path and the journey. Because if you just jump in head first, I mean, people say take a leap, but I say do your research at least and then take the leap. You know, make sure you've got your stuff covered as much as you can.
Yes.
But, you know, because a lot of times when people may take a giant leap and jump into something, when they find out it's not what they want, the going back is not really easy.
For sure. And they feel like they have a sense of failure, which I don't like to use the word failure. I like to think of it as an experience that we learn from. As long as we learn from it, it's truly an experience, because children, when they're growing up, they fall down lots when they're learning to walk. They don't consider, oh, it's a failure, I'll never do it. They're, okay, that didn't work, let me try something else. Right. So, and really playing into what you just said, Ted, there's like, some people say, well, I can't do something I really want to do in my life, David, because of the fact that I don't necessarily have the money aside. Well, then I will reframe this and suggest to you, if you currently do have work, make sure that you find some time in your day that you work on something that you're really excited about.
Yes.
Okay. This is not an uncommon experience. And I think people need to embrace that more, that you don't have to leave aside everything in your life and start a business. And we're using the frame business or a new profession, and go to school and then give up your source of income, because that source of income is helping you manage some stress in your life. You need to have a place to live in. You need to have food on the table. If you're like myself and you have children, you can't just go off and do something. You can, but there's going to be bigger consequences. And let me put a pause on that. When I moved to France, okay, I did something that I say to my children, don't do that. That didn't do the good idea. I moved because my mother-in-law was really ill. Okay. And when I moved in 2009, I didn't speak the French language. I lost my work because I didn't speak the language. Okay. I gave up because I was an entrepreneur in Canada too. And that was not the wisest decision to do. Most people, when they move another country, they have work in place. They've got something in place. We decided in 2009 in January to move. And in April, we were already in France. So it was very rapid. This I don't recommend, because the consequences were very stressful. And I'm truly grateful that my life leading up to that point in time, because I'd already been working and practicing the Wonder Technique for 9 years, almost 10 years at a time. At least I had some ideas in the toolbox. Otherwise, I think I would have just really fallen down. And it was
could have been a really big fall.
Yes. And it wasn't, I mean, then what happened, as I mentioned before, my dad passed away after I'd moved to France. So there was a number of things that happened. And I actually have to look back and be grateful for what I came into that experience with. And this is why I'm hoping that people that maybe everything's great and wonderful with them right now, but what they get from this experience today is some tools they can just put in their toolbox just in case they need it. It's like having a fire extinguisher at home. It's like having a first aid kit. It's just in case you need it.
Agreed.
So
All right,
that
I'm going to let you take it.
Okay. So the next thing here is that one thing we're just touched on there is to make every day have something fulfilling. This is actually the third step here in the 19 steps to reduce stress and increase your happiness, is that if you're building your life here, make sure that you have something that you really look forward to. It could be, I'm going to meet up with a friend and we're going to have a conversation, whether it's by phone, or if you're able to go out and circulate, you're going to have dinner together, cooking dinner together, or you're going to do something like have the opportunity to be on a podcast and share what you share. Find something the day before, plan something into your next day that you're going to feel fulfillment from. That's critical, because if your day starts off and things start to go a little bit wild and crazy, at least you know, I've got this thing to focus on. Now, it could also be there's many different things. I'm going to go for a little walk. I'm going to go for a hike. There's something you put into that day, so you've got something to look forward to. So that's another idea. Plan ahead and always make sure, and don't break that commitment to yourself.
I think that's so critical, because I think a lot of people miss that. They're looking forward to this giant thing at the end. I'm going to be rich then. I'm going to take a vacation then. And they forget all the little steps up to that. And so we don't allow ourselves, I feel like, in general, to experience joy in a short term. Yes. We're always looking for this long term. It's going to be then. And like you said, plan something that you're looking forward to each day. Think about that. I absolutely love that. I've never talked about that on the show before, but that's such a critical way of thinking, critically positive way of thinking.
Thank you for your support, Ted. And it's a proactive thing. Like, people make their to-do list. I've got to, I got to pay this bill. I got to do this. I got to call this person. Make sure you put the priority in there. You build into your time that you're going to take that action. Like, I think it was Dr. Stephen Covey who wrote in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that's an older book as well, too, where he said, plan into your day, plan into your month, into your year, where you're going to spend time when your holidays and family and friends. Like, you do that ahead of time. Yes. It's precious. It's a space. Like, some people, they will say, well, I make sure every day that I go and I do X activity. It doesn't matter what it is, whatever makes you feel good, you plan it in there. And as a little extra thing, if that activity is something related to exercise, I really encourage everybody, make sure it's an exercise that you love to do. Okay. Just because your friends love to run, don't take up running. If you love running, do that. If you love to dance, do that. If you love to hike, do that. Do whatever because then you're really going to look forward to it. Okay. And if it plays into the idea of building your business, maybe you want to write a book, make sure each day that you take the time to write maybe a paragraph of that book that you want to eventually put together. And as you mentioned, Ted, like, some people think in the future, yeah, but you know what? I want to sell 1 million copies of my book. The first thing you have to do is actually write the book. So, okay, don't
so simple, but it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just about, make it a little bit easier and less stressful on yourself, and make a commitment to yourself first. And you know what I say to people, make that commitment in writing into yourself. Like, if you can write it down, I said this actually to somebody the other day. I said, if this is really your dream, could you write it down, date it, and sign it that you're going to be really working on this by X date? And they said, no. I said, then it's not your dream.
Wow. That's powerful, because I think people rely on that dream. Sometimes we set ourselves up, I think, to have a dream that we know we're never going to attain, because it's easier than trying to go step by step. It's easier to go, well, I just could never do that because, and in reality, they could if they did the step-by-step method you're talking about.
Exactly. And it really is, people are very aware with the idea of compound interest. I mean, it's very simple. Financially, investments compound over time. And when you have money in the bank account. But in our lives, everything compounds over time. It compounds in the positive way and also compounds in the negative way. Yeah. So this is what we have to be aware of, that if we're taking positive action, like I like to say to people, if we're moving towards conversation and breaking down challenges in society, then we're moving in the right direction. If we're not having any conversation, we're eventually going to end up misunderstandings and conflict. So
Agreed.
you have to be moving in one way. And even if the momentum is very slow, it's like years ago I heard saying, how do you get to China? It's one step at a time. It's the same idea. But these are fundamental ideas, and people listening go, David, yeah, that's right. I've heard this before. And I really believe that a lot of us have heard many of these ideas before. But when we actually put them into action, this is when they make a difference.
Agreed. That's the magic.
That is the power. And so the next step that I can share here at this moment in time is to visualize what you want to have in your life. And the key thing is actually to accept it happening. Once again, so you're visualizing something you want to see happening. Okay. And this is something that, it's not something that you can have happen right away. Like, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with a friend of mine tomorrow, but say if it's your purpose, we're using the word like business or profession, but you start to visualize seeing this happening. You go to sleep at night or you wake up in the morning dreaming about this. But a key thing for a lot of people is to actually accept it happening. And I think we struggle with that we really want something, but the barrier is the acceptance. Like, I really want to have a relationship with this person, but then we add all this mental stuff that says, I can't do it. That's what's impeding your process. Yes. And that's what's creating stress for you and blocking you from happiness. Is what's going on
is so critical. We just did a show. I have another series that I do with a positivity coach, life coach, 𝗀𝗲𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗍, and our subject was acceptance, and how people get confused by it, and then they establish it, but they really aren't accepting it. And so all of those things you were just talking about that are in our heads and the blockades, they just are overwhelming. And then because they haven't accepted, it makes it difficult for them to ever get to where they want to be.
Exactly. And that's something to work on. And when good things happen or somebody gives you a compliment, my response when people give me a compliment is I put that in a bottle and I'll keep it for a rainy day. Okay, so it's like you accept the compliments. I know that when I was younger, I didn't accept compliments, but now I accept them. And that's a first step for a lot of people. We're all unique, we're all different, we bring different things to the world, and accept your uniqueness and accept when people compliment you. That's a good thing for people to have. I don't see everybody being willing to accept a compliment, and I say, why not? Why not? Just it's okay. It's a good thing.
I think people don't know how to respond to them. I've done a couple of shows about this. I think that people really, when they get a compliment, they're usually taken aback, and then they don't know how to respond. So the response always seems awkward. And so it almost convinces them to not know how to take it. And so it's a challenge for people. And it seems like such a simple thing. I've had to learn, like I'll get compliments on my clothes. And for a while I would just smile and say, thank you. And, I didn't know what to say. It takes a while. I think people have to get used to it. And your word of acceptance, accept the compliment, accept it. It's okay to be loved or to be appreciated or to be complimented on your clothes or the presentation you just did. Why not? You worked hard at it, or it's something you like and somebody's recognizing it. It's a wonderful thing, but people do have a challenge with it.
Yes, and actually, you started right there. It's just saying thank you. That can be sufficient. This is David's opinion, okay, non-scientifically based. But I think if you just say thank you, and what will happen there is you're more likely to get compliments from that same person again because you didn't bat it away.
Correct.
If that person feels that you feel uncomfortable, they'll feel uncomfortable a little bit too.
You're right.
So you're creating a little bit of your reality of, I would love to receive compliments from other people, but I don't. Well, what are you experiencing? What are you bringing out to the world? And I truly always like to remind people that we're all unique. We all bring something special to the world. And now there's two things I want to share. One idea that I started with my children. This is part. We're not going to get through 19 things here today. I know.
I know we're not.
I know, but
we're going to have more.
Irishness in me. I talk way too much. Right, this is a genetic issue. But there's two ideas I want to share that are further on in this 19 steps. But one of them I actually created when my children were really young. And I want to encourage people to use this idea, and if they can, in the workplace. And it's called, quote unquote, what I like about. And what you do is, can you imagine if you started a meeting in the office like this, or a Zoom meeting, or whatever meeting it was, and everybody has to take the time to tell the other person what they like about them. Okay, because what we used to do is, when my children were young, before we went to sleep, we'd each take turns on saying what you like about the other person. Whatever came to your mind. You know, I appreciated that you took the time to share with me about what happened at school. I appreciate it's just because you're just giving and you're telling the person what I like about. But the beautiful thing about this was, and that I started to practice, maybe someone else has done this before, probably lots of people, but I started at home, and then I realized, wouldn't that be a great thing to do if people started a meeting to kind of make everybody feel good? Like, it's great what you did. You prepared the room, you know, whatever it is, you organized the event. Like in this case here, Ted, you took the time to do all the technical work for this event. I didn't have to do that, right? And I appreciate that. So you're rolling in that sense. And once again, other people are going to start feel positive about being around you.
Yes.
And that's something, you know what, when we want to know, do we want to spend time around people? This is another little bonus here, is that look at how you feel when you leave the conversation with those people. Do you feel your energy level has gone up, or do you feel your energy level has gone down? That's a way of knowing.
To pay attention to that energy.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, if I leave and I'm drained, so I have to figure out how I'm going to respond to that, because a lot of times, that if you are in a relationship where it's constantly you're leaving and you're drained, then my opinion is you should evaluate that relationship. If it's once in a while and David comes to me and he vents and then I take it on and then I'm drained, no problem. But if you're always drained when you're having a conversation or with that person, it's crazy for your spirit. I don't want to get off, but we're done with our time today. So what I want people to know is that I am committed, and so is David, to get through the 19 steps, to share all of the wonderful things that he has to share. TheWonderTechnique.com. What's the best way for them to reach out to you in between our shows, David?
WonderTechnique.com. And I will say, if people go there, I like to pay it forward to say, they go there, there's a link, and they can subscribe to my newsletter to get an ebook that's 10 keys to health and happiness. That's very much in alignment for today. They'll get the mini motivational cards that were inspired by my dad, and you can just pop it in there. Find me through TheWonderTechnique.com. All access to everything I do, videos I've made, and they're short little videos. You find everything through there.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing the show. I'm super excited for the next episodes, because I think this is so critical, and those are the comments that I've had. This is such great stuff. I'm stressed out. This is such great stuff. I need to focus. So we're on to something, and it's all you, my friend. So thank you for being generous and sharing.
My honor. Thank you very much, Ted. Thank you.
All right. We'll be back with another episode. We'll see you guys later.